Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's entrepreneur, corporate innovator, and author, speaker, and of course, workshop leader. No other than Mr. William Holsten.
Hi, Daniel.
Welcome, Mr. William, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yes, I'm William Holsten. I'm a business mistake prevention specialist, and I'm the author of the book on screen, How to Avoid Unintentional Blunders That Derail Entrepreneurial Success and Goof Proof Your Business. Um, I wrote after living through my own entrepreneurial mistakes, including a costly product launch gone wrong, and realizing how many smart people make preventable mistakes as well. My goal with this book is to tell real stories in plain language that help readers recognize and avoid the moments before they happen. Happy to be here.
Mr. William Holsten, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. And today, let's talk about the dumb mistakes that sink businesses. So tell us, beyond the obvious running out of cash, what are the most subtle financial miscalculations that slowly bleed a company dry?
Well, my focus, by the way, is small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs. And I've got a list of like the eight of the top blunders that businesses like that make. Um, One of them is called "No one actually needs this" syndrome. It means you've designed and launched a product or a service that you loved and thought everybody would like, but in fact, nobody does. This hurts because you waste resources going ahead to put it out there without talking to people first. The solution when you have that problem, of course, is to take a step back and expose your idea to others before you scale up and do a big thing. In the world of small business and entrepreneurs, this is a very typical one. Um, many people have done it. There are several others. Would you like to? Would you like it if I tell you my first big dumb mistake to put some
Please
context on
do.
this?
Please
Yeah,
do, mister.
I was I was with my major global multinational consumer healthcare company for nearly 40 years. And in my final 10 years with them, I retired in 2022. Um, I launched a side gig where my wife and I invented carnival games. These are the type that rental stores and party companies buy from me and rent out to their customers. We had been asked within my family to rent a game for a Make a Wish carnival years and years ago. And we rented and reserved a dunk tank for that August Make a Wish carnival. It was hot, it was sweaty, and a water game would have been perfect. But 2 weeks before the event, the rental company called me and said, sorry, it takes 500 gallons to fill the dunk tank, and we can't rent that to you because there's a drought in the Northeast, and they made a regulation we can't rent that out. Do you want something else? And my wife and I sat at I told them, no, we'll figure something out. My wife Janet and I sat at our kitchen table and we began to ask ourselves, how might we create that dunk tank experience getting all wet without making somebody fall into a tank? And the result was a game now called Pitch Burst, that somebody sat in a chair below a water balloon hung over their head. And when someone tosses a ball, hits the target, it makes the water balloon burst and the water falls down on the people. A very visual, very fun game. We used it at this particular carnival, and it was the hit of the carnival. The charity made hundreds of dollars charging people $1 for 3 throws, and it was fantastic. The next day after this carnival, by the way, we made that first model out of plywood from Home Depot and a basketball rim from a sporting goods store. The phone rang in the days after that saying, "Where can I get that? How can I buy that?" My corporate mind went into motion and said, "I think we can make this into a business. Let's look into it." So we investigated and found this has never been patented before. So we hired a lawyer and filed for a provisional patent. Once that was issued, we went to the SBA and got a $100,000 um, business loan to fund production of the first 100 units by a third party. I'm not a manufacturer myself. And to pay for the marketing in magazines in those days, there was far less online, to uh, party and rental businesses. It worked out well. In the first several months during that winter, we sold to rental stores 60 of our first 100 units. And we look forward to the time they could finally rent them out to their customers and call us with congratulations on how great it was. That's not what happened. Once the weather got warm and these customers who owned our game began to rent it out, they called back very quickly to tell me it's breaking. The parts fall apart, the screws come out, the logo adhesive panel is peeling off. It looks like trash and it doesn't work. Please help. So we considered that our uh-oh moment. When we got the 10th or 15th of those calls, we realized that making the making this game out of wooden parts screwed together is not fit for purpose. We realized we had to do something drastically different if we wanted this game to succeed. We stopped selling those. We gave refunds, we gave spare parts, we made good to everybody who had bought it from us. We destroyed the other 40 units we had in inventory, and then we took a big pivot pause. And we thought we'd make a great game because we knew it worked well at our carnival, but we didn't make it fit for the rental business. So we borrowed more money, hired an engineer, and that led us to a steel version with aluminum and plastic panels, which is still on the market today. So uh, I called it the uh-oh moment that led to the title of the book. Um, we learned a million lessons the hard way. Separately, in my day job at the time, I was a workshop developer and leader for this consumer healthcare company's global brands. And I would get people together to workshop and ideate to solve problems and to generate new product ideas. I found after I retired that the topic of dumb mistakes like I had made and the opportunity of using workshop tools like design thinking and creative problem solving could help small businesses avoid mistakes if they could only apply these things. So the book has two parts. It's my dumb mistake stories, some famous dumb mistake stories up front, and then the back is 10 tools small businesses or individuals, solopreneurs can use to avoid making similar mistakes. If I had had those tools in place when I was making my first pitch burst, I might have done one of a couple different things. One would be to test and learn, use different materials, try it with a few customers before scaling up. To get to the correct rendition of it, the easier way, the easier than failing disastrously. Or we might have strategically looked and said, well, we own a patent on this. Let's go sell it or license it to somebody who's already in this business and can run with it right away and just give us revenue without all of the sweat. Those are two looking back lessons. Do they make, what do you think of those?
Totally empowering, Mr. Williams. So, how does the founder's fallacy, that inability to adopt a beloved initial idea, systematically destroy a company's market relevance?
The founder's fallacy, by that you mean the owner is deeply in love with what their product is that I mentioned as no one actually needs this. Is that what you're
Yes,
asking?
yes.
Yeah, the advice is uh, walk in your customer's shoes. Actually, go interview people who are in your target market and understand what they, in the category of product or service that you sell, what do they do with that typically? In my case, how do they handle um, uh, carnival games? I found out later, too late, that they handle them roughly. Things break when they toss them in a truck. But the step to take is to walk in your customer's shoes, actually map out your customer user experience with your type of product or service so you can see not only the gaps where things can go wrong, but the opportunities where you might differentiate and come up with something even better than your original idea. Then comes a step I call in the book test and learn, which is you take a part of it of how they use one element or one step and you mock it up without spending a lot of money. I call it the duct tape solution so that they can go through the motions and react and you watch and listen to them so you can observe and correct mistakes while it's still a very small scale problem and then take all those learnings and build the much more fortified, goof proof final product.
Final product for sure. In the pursuit of rapid growth, Mr. William, at what point does scaling too fast become a fatal error, and what is the early warning signs?
It's it's situational. Every business has its own context, so it's hard to say too fast is 1 month or a certain period of time. But the warning signs you can look for is uh, low enthusiasm, um, curiously low interest in what you're trying to offer, or that it takes you much longer or much more resources in advertising to generate a single lead. Those are some early signals that you might be doing something wrong, and you may want to step back and investigate the other steps of understanding from a customer perspective or try different parts, different elements of it first.
Why is mission drift so dangerous, and how can a company stay aggressively focused on its core value proposition without missing valid market pivots?
That's all about uh, knowing and crystallizing what it is that makes you special. If you try to be all things to all people or jump at opportunities that are outside your area of expertise, you risk diluting your efforts and standing for something far less special than you really are. That's what I see as mission creep.
Interesting, Mr. William. And how does it truly mean to have a broken business model? And why is simply having a great product not enough to save it?
Oh, great question. Um, you, I work each week as a volunteer with the SCORE organization, and I'm always meeting new entrepreneurs who are starting their business or trying to build them. And I observe that many people come for help who do not have even a written business plan. It's all in their head. And in the business plan, of course, you're articulating what your proposition is, how you differentiate the business model, actually, where the money comes from, where the cash comes in and where the cash goes out, and how you're going to market this and how you budget for all of those activities. If you don't understand how they all fit together, and I recommend the business model canvas exercise to help people understand that, you're flying kind of blind. So um, it's really important to understand how the mechanics of your what to achieve your goals. First, you have to have goals and write them down. But then to achieve them, how do the activities you do generate the money and spend the resources and wind up with cash profit margin that allows your business to be sustainable. You must understand those kind of upfront and then track them as you go forward to be sure your activities are generating the revenue and spending no more than your budgeted costs to ensure you're going to be profitable. If you're not, you're heading down a very dangerous, slippery slope.
Mr. William, as an entrepreneur, corporate innovator, an author, speaker, workshop leader, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
I wrote, I was very pleased when my book launched this February, and I began on podcasts like this to talk to entrepreneurs in audiences about why it's important to pay attention to not making mistakes. Typically, an entrepreneur is so busy with their customers, their competitors, their cash flow, their margins, all of the details of their business, the topic of not making mistakes is not top of mind. However, you can make a mistake in any one of those areas. So, my mission, and I talk about often, is raising the awareness of why you don't want to make mistakes and then building into your day to day business tools and techniques to always remind you when a mistake prone topic is coming up so you can take a left turn and avoid it.
Well, good luck to your goals, Mr. William. I'm looking forward for more success. And what would be a piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
The simple answer is always look for the other right answer. Quite often, when putting together a business plan or executing some of its elements, you might think, especially if you're a solopreneur by yourself, this is how I do it. This is the best idea I have. Always challenge yourself. How else might we do this? Um, my case in point was I assumed when I launched my pitch burst game, making it out of wood was fine. I didn't stop. How else might I? What other business model might I do, which would have led me to licensing it? Or what other material choices might be better than my original idea? So look for the other right answer, no matter what the situation is. Makes you smarter.
Well, thank you for that advice, Mr. William. And can you please recommend a book or books that influenced your journey?
Yeah, there are two. They're right in front of me now. Um, One is an old book by the conductor of the Boston Symphony. It's called The Art of Possibility, and Benjamin Zander. I saw him speak on this, and then I read his book. He's all about not getting destroyed by mistake making. He talks in the book about working with people in the violin section, and he's very strict. So when they make a mistake, he yells at them. But when there are problems and you fail at something in like learning a piece of music, he says, don't gnash your teeth, don't punish yourself, just celebrate it and move. Of course, learn from the error, but then move on. And he has an expression I absolutely loved when I saw him do it in New York. And he says, when something goes terribly wrong, the first thing he does is throws hands up in the air and he says, how fascinating. And then he can move on with his life. I was very inspired with that. And when I got that book, I shared it with many of my friends. One other book that's more recent is by Ozan Varol. It's called Think Like a Rocket Scientist. Ozan is a lawyer, a former lawyer, and he literally was a rocket scientist working on Mars projects with people with NASA. And his book, Think Like a Rocket Scientist, is all about the principles of rocket science in how to think big, how not to be limited by what seems to be right in front of you, but to stretch yourself and go further. Two books that were very influential to me.
Thank you for that recommended books, Mr. William. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. William, what is the proper role of data decision making, and how can business avoid the twin pitfalls of analysis paralysis and flying blind?
Interesting. Um, I go back to having a good business plan that has you define the types of metrics you want to follow and finding ways to efficiently get them in front of you to make decisions or to continue or change what you're doing based on what you see.
Very well said, Mr. William. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Daniel. If you'd like to learn more about how to avoid costly preventable business mistakes, you can find me on my website, williamholsten.com. That's William, Holsten.com. When you go there, go to my homepage, there's a free download. It's called the $10,000 Mistake Checklist. It's a quick guide to 8 of the most common traps entrepreneurs fall into and how to goof-proof your business before your next uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Yes, people, let's support Mr. William Holsten, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering uh-oh to come. So, Mr. William, thank you so much for your time.
Daniel, I was pleased to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
More to come, people. See you soon.